Welcome, and today we're going to be talking about the front axles for the Kiddy Car. In front of me is one that I originally made for one of our hacky racers. It's got standard spindles available from AliExpress, some rose joints. In the centre these are Land Rover engine mounts. I thought this was a good idea at the time in that these have metal plates with the bolts in and have a rubber in between, but actually they are really stiff and didn't have any sort of level of compliance. So although I thought that was a great idea, I'm giving up with that. This was sort of a prototype idea that I had. It's got a lot of adjustment. As you can see, you can wind these in and out, so you can change the sort of the camber available. I've adapted it for Ackerman, and overall, although the design works, it's actually quite heavy. It's also quite complex with these extra rose joints in there, these mounts. So I've given up on that, especially for the Kiddy Car. You don't need that amount of sort of adjustment or complexity in the design. So I have a totally different design that I've worked on, and I think it'll be more successful as well. So I'm just going to bring this across and explain the sort of differences between the two. And at first sight, we're obviously pretty much the same, in that it's a section of 30 by 30 which both designs used. Standard spindles, again from AliExpress, for just ease of use, and you can see on the design itself, these come with a level of sort of built-in camber available to them, but what they supply is these brackets which just weld straight on, really easy to do. The big difference is because that rubber mount didn't work, and it's a low speed design, I've changed to a much simpler sort of section pivot in the centre, and what I've done is there's two standard pillow blocks, 15mm, with an axle going through them, and what will happen is I've made up these plates. They will fit either side, so one there and one there, and that will give the movement in the axle. Toying with the idea of putting some shock absorbers on. I've got lots of mounts for them, so I'll probably weld those on just in case. But this makes quite a simple design in that this is just a piece of angle iron with a plate with a hole on, so that will get welded to the chassis, obviously the same as the other one. And in fact, if you flip this the right way round, you can see the axle just goes through, simply bolted, and whoops, and there we go. So yeah, so that's going to be the new axle design. It's not that much lighter really, but it is a lot simpler. It hasn't got the level adjustment, but there again, doesn't need it. So the next step will be taking these plates, welding them onto the chassis, and then just checking how things work. Obviously there isn't loads of axial articulation because you've got some. Now if I just show you, if you imagine this is on the chassis, so you've got about that much, but that's enough just to help the steering of the Kiddy Car as you're going along. I'm going to weld on some shaft collars so that once the shaft itself is cut down, but a hole there, and also it means that not reliant on this area. I did think about not having the pillow bearings, but these are cheap. I looked at bushings instead, but then could be a bit more careful with the drilling. But the nice thing about the pillow bearings is you really can just drill through There's a little bit of adjustment available by just slightly over drilling the hole size so you can get it square with the rest of the chassis, and also because it is a bearing, it's nice and smooth, it's low friction, and I think it's going to do the job nicely for this little car I'm building. Thank you. This is the front axle now tacked in place, and you can see how the articulation now works, probably a little bit better than you could before. So you get this amount of movement back and forth. We'll need some bump stops if I don't go for any sort of shock absorbers or springs. But overall I'm pretty happy with that. It's got the desired effect. It's quite a simple design. Now all that's left is just to finish up the welding, bolt the pillar blocks on, shorten the shaft and get a couple of collars welded on there, and then that will be the front done. The next step, once that's all tidied up, is then to figure out the steering. I've got a small steering rack for the front, need to sort out the mountings for that.